and also offer you a lot of protection. But if you're in Monroe or Greenville, Pine Bluff, Memphis, Oxford, Tupelo, just be thinking right now, okay, let's be prepared as we go through the afternoon. Some pretty good storms just to your west now in Memphis that are about to hit you, so be prepared for those. Some lightning with those. Little Rock, your showers have lessened in intensity a little bit after the flood warning earlier, but Pine Bluff up around Goodwin, here we go with the heavier rain right along I-40 in particular. It's not all that much fun for you right now, but even Memphis up toward maybe Millington or Osceola, heads up on what's coming your way. Thin little line of storms here just outside of Destin, headed toward Chipley. I don't think we have much of a severe weather risk down through the Panhandle of Florida necessarily, but this area up in here is the most likely location to see severe storms. So across the Mid-South and the Tennessee Valley, Torcons here as high as 4 and 5. Alex?
Now, the next storm will be moving into the east just in time for the first day of the new year. So January 1st, maybe you're heading home a day early or just, trying to get outside and enjoy it. Not going to be a day to be outdoors across a lot of the country. We start things off, though, Friday at 2 o'clock, where the storm's really focused into parts of the west, moving through the middle of the country as we head into the morning on Saturday. So you wake up, if you're up early at 7 a.m., to snow across the plains. We've got that rain, thunderstorm chances across sections of the Mid-South. But look at the Northeast here as we go from Friday, December 31st to January 1st. Rain overspreading the area, could be moderate to heavy at times, and that'll be the deal on Saturday. We're going to keep it rainy and keep it persistent. So a gloomy start to the new year. Inside where you want to be, have another easy day. Put something in the crock pot, whether it's, the pork and sauerkraut or whatever the good luck meal is for you guys. We've got a chance of mixed precip into parts of western, central New York and into northern sections of New England by late Saturday. During the day Sunday, our snow levels or our snow will be working into the I-95 corridor. So we're going to be watching for the chances of even a few snowflakes very quickly across parts of New York, Philadelphia, Hartford, Providence, Boston, and Portland. All could end with a quick shot of snow. According to the European model, don't have to worry about any kind of accumulations in those areas. Any accumulations, and they'll be light, would be into parts of interior New York, really central and western New York. GFS model does paint the opportunity for a very light accumulation into parts of the I-95 corridor. We're going to watch that forecast closely, see if we can get some agreement. But, Mike, certainly the chance that you could see a few snowflakes out there on January 1st.
Well, we need the cold air first, don't we? And that cold air is finally going to be moving in. If you look at the temperatures tomorrow, still pretty mild in a lot of places. And look at the 70s and 80s, how prevalent they are across the South. Temperatures 30s and 40s through the Great Lakes. Although Cincinnati to 56 is a very mild day, 50 in St. Louis. Toward the end of December. That's pretty nice. But this cold front right here is going to be very key for New Year's Eve. Look at the big contrast. 8 in Minneapolis, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 41 in Chicago, 66 degrees in Louisville. So we know this is a very potent front. Watch it slide through on New Year's Eve night. And you wake up New Year's Day, 18 in Kansas City, 10 below in Minneapolis, 6 in Des Moines. Watch the numbers crash down then. St. Louis and Indianapolis, our numbers come way down. Temperature then Sunday morning, 13 in St. Louis, 10 in Chicago, 1 below in Kansas City. Minneapolis, your coldest of the season, 16 degrees below zero. Indianapolis, take a look at the first day of the new year. 53 degrees in Indianapolis in the middle of the day, then the steady decline thereafter, right? And so much so that your rain goes over to snow on New Year's night into January 2nd. The temperatures stay cold. It gets windy after that. Ultimately, what that means is winter's arrived for a change, Alex. We have not talked much about winter weather, especially like that I-70 corridor.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
It's been lacking, but back in a big way. Well, today's severe threat bad enough, but we know we've got another opportunity coming New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. So stay with us. We'll break it all down for you, tell you when the threat in your area will be the greatest.
Hello to Little Rock, Arkansas. Been pretty wet this afternoon. The heavy rain has ended, but the roads are still wet. This is an area watch for storms throughout the afternoon, but primarily eastern Arkansas, we think could run the risk of severe thunderstorms and maybe even tornadoes throughout the day.
Yeah, already a tornado watch posted for portions of Arkansas, as well as Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee, with severe weather potential ramping up through the second half of today And that's not the only severe weather threat we'll be talking about this week. Another opportunity really right as we changed to the new year.
We go to the ring in the new year with some severe storms. Unfortunately, it seems like that's been the MO of December.
Yeah.
Been a very strange month. One of the most active months for severe weather of the entire year.
Right. You know, I feel like it's such a weird world we live in. We are canceling New Year's celebrations because of COVID. Now we're adding severe weather. Like, when do we catch a break?
It's bizarro world. We all said 2021 was going to be our year. 2022.
We'll try.
We're looking forward.
That's the slogan. We'll try? Question mark. Well, we'll see how we do. Hey, by the way, we're with you until 4 o'clock Eastern. You just saw Storm Center coming up at 4 o'clock. By the way, we are with you all night tonight, or at least through midnight Eastern, and right after this storm threat, we're going to be with you again for the next one. Our coverage also does not stop once you turn off your TV. You can download the app on your TV or your device. Existing and cable and satellite subscribers can get the Weather Channel on Roku, on Fire Stick, and your smart TV. You get 24/7 access to the latest alerts, forecasts, local radar, and live coverage. Mike, over to you.
Yeah. Well, we know that 2021 maybe has not gone as ideally as many of us have wanted, but there is some optimism to be had. If we're smart about the conditions, we're smart about the weather we have this evening, we're going to be ringing in the new year with a lot of hope and a lot of optimism. There's a look at the storms that are happening for us right now. There's a tornado watch in effect. So we're giving you the information. Run with it, folks. Like, take this information and say, okay, I'm going to commit to spending literally like 10 minutes of my day talking to my family, letting them know what the risk is going to be, having a plan. We all know where to go when that warning is issued, and we go there quickly, and we're all safe. That's the best thing. That's the best gift you could give to your family this holiday is safety, right? Where is it in your home, though, in Memphis or Tupelo, in Greenville? Where are you going to go? Do you have a basement? It's a pretty safe spot for you to go. Don't have a basement? That's okay. You don't have to have one to be safe. Find an interior room in your home on the first floor, down on the ground level. Is that a half bath? Is the closet? I know you're like, I can't get in the closet. Well, just cram in there for a few minutes until the tornado goes by, and it'll offer you protection. I know it might not be comfortable, but it might save your life. All right, think about that. Is it maybe something like, under a stairwell, something like that? Those are all good things. Shoes, helmets, cell phone, charger, have all those things ready to go as well. Tornado watch until 7 o'clock. Storms are rolling into Memphis right now. Heavy-duty storms that could be producing some pretty intense rain. I think flooding becomes an issue. There is some lightning embedded with those storms as well. Little Rock, the weather's improved a little bit for us. We showed you the camera there. It's wet, but that's it. These storms are a little bit more impactful here. So heads up here in Memphis as the storms are really coming together, and we think severe weather there and south is very likely. Line of thunderstorms down through the panhandle of Florida as well, but this entire area right in here, the area to watch. Torcons as high as 4 and 5 today with likely storms throughout the afternoon and evening, and many of these storms could go well past dark tonight. Alex, what that means is maybe even as you're setting your head down on the pillow, you put the cell phone right there as well. It's set for alert modes for the severe weather alerts, and you can be alerted even while you're sleeping tonight.
Yeah, always a good thing. And if you've got kids or dogs, they also add that layer of alerts. Because
by the way, the dog will be antsy tonight. Yeah. They know before we do sometimes.
Yeah, no, they like sit on my head on the pillow before I even get the warning. Because they've heard it, 30 miles away. They're like, hey, lady, it's coming. So yeah, always good to have multiple reminders, but definitely have that app just in case, the dog's also sleeping through it. By the time we get into Friday, another severe threat. So that's why Mike's saying, hey, have it downloaded now. Have the way to get the alerts today, because you're going to need it again later in the week, most likely. More moisture moving north into an area where we already have moisture in place. So keep in mind, we've got high dew points already. We're going to keep that going, keep the warmth into the end of the week. Our low-level winds, not just bringing the moisture north, but also those will strengthen into the overnight, and that's going to allow our storms to remain strong, not strengthen as we move through those overnight hours, where typically we see storms die down in intensity. Not going to be the case Friday into Saturday. Possibility of severe storms from Oklahoma and Texas up into parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. That's Friday evening and overnight. And then during the day on Saturday, starting in the morning, those storms continue east throughout the day. So morning, afternoon, and evening will have the threat for severe weather for January 1st. Here's a look at our dew points that we anticipate Saturday, January 1st. upper 60s, low 70s across the region. So warmth, moisture, we've got it all to work with. And we're going to bring you more on the threat as well as the wintry side of the story when weather.
At VisionWorks, we want you to see yourself in your new glasses and...
Thanks for staying with us here on Weather Underground. Could be a very active afternoon, evening, and overnight when it comes to severe storms. Storms are kicking right now across the Mid-South. This is the area where we've got a tornado watch. And what that means is conditions are favorable through at least 7 o'clock for this area highlighted in red, Memphis, Tupelo, Greenville, Monroe, to have tornadoes. All right. They may not be happening at this moment, but over the course of time, we expect them to. If they are imminent, then a warning will be issued, and that's when you need to take quick action. So you can see the storms that are already flaring inside that area. And this area where we've got really strong surface winds coming in from the south here, we think that that's really going to tap into the dynamics here, and storms will be off to the races here this afternoon. Severe thunderstorm warnings now being issued, including Claiborne and Webster counties here, heading up towards El Dorado here. And there was one more that was just issued off to the east there. I'll get you that one as well. Up around Harrell here, headed toward Monticello, Bradley, Calhoun. So please be aware, Harrell, Hermitage, Warren, if you hear me name your city, those are areas where hail and high winds could be possible for you here. So all the way along this line, up through eastern Arkansas, over toward Memphis. Here they come. The storms are really converging on us now in Memphis. Nothing is severe thunderstorm warned right now. No tornado warnings, but some really heavy rain is going to hit you. So I'd say just park it inside. Just watch some TV today, watch some football, stream some movies, play, video games, whatever it may be, right? But try to avoid driving out in these kind of conditions. Thunderstorms also down through the panhandle of Florida with some pretty good heavy rain there as well, and I-10 could be affected. This is the area that really lights up through the afternoon. Likely severe weather here containing extreme winds, 60+ miles per hour. So all your holiday decorations that are out there, if you've still got time, I say especially like in Alabama or in Georgia, maybe, all the loose stuff, you can grab those things and bring them at least in the garage tonight, the inflatables, stuff like that. But tornadoes will be prevalent here through the afternoon and evening. Torcons as high as a 5 here in portions of northern Alabama and Mississippi, Alex.
All right, and then the record warmth that we have been talking about, maybe enjoying in some cases. That, of course, is what's fueling our severe threat, not just today, but also into Friday. Potential record highs through Friday across the south central, southeastern states, even down into Florida. Today, 4 out of the 5 areas that we anticipated getting into record territory have set or tied records. In fact, all of these areas have set records. Well, no, Montgomery record is 70. Oh, no, there we go, 79. So they hit that or set that record. They were at 77. The Atlanta area, you're close, not quite there. 70 is the high so far today, 72 the record. But Jackson, Montgomery, and Beaumont, Texas, all hitting it. Same for the Galveston, Texas area, 80 degrees. And 80s common across the Gulf Coast today. Tomorrow, we're going to see more of the same. So today we've got those 15, 20, 25 degree above average highs. Guess what? We're going to, copy paste for tomorrow. Many of the same areas, in fact, looking at that well above average warmth. Tomorrow, more records could fall from Vero Beach, Florida to Victoria, Texas, Meridian, Mississippi, and Galveston. Galveston, again, looking at warmth, 76 the forecast. The record is 75. And in Charlotte, I think we'll be within a few degrees into the 70s tomorrow there in western North Carolina. Tomorrow into Friday, more of the same. Again, copy paste, right? Friday, more areas also getting in on that warmth, 15, 20, 25 degrees above average. So again, why we're looking at another significant severe threat coming into play Friday and into Saturday. Friday, there are those potential record highs. Mike?
So we've got a pretty dynamic jet stream pattern. Now, everything buckles as we go into the weekend, and so that cold air really filters southbound here. That's where the cold air meets up with moisture, and we're going to get a pretty good snowstorm, we think. On the front side of that, where you have the more moist air, another round of severe weather rolls in for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So as we go into the weekend, there's the setup. You can see the color contours. That cold air really locked in there across the western Great Lakes. The coldest air will be contrasted by the warmest air in the southeast. You can see the divide line. That's where that jet stream was, right? Cold air north and the warm air south. Severe storms and then snow. That's the end result, right? Let's go through Friday morning. You'll see the showers begin to pull northbound through the day. Here we are, 11 o'clock in the evening. So now we're getting close to New Year's Eve and midnight, the stroke of midnight. We're changing over here to rain or snow then in Kansas City around the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. It's going to be strange to see, right? But then the really cold air settles in. The snow goes gangbusters New Year's Day. And you can see some really heavy snow at times, maybe through the Quad Cities, Chicago, Lansing, Michigan. Rain farther south. So I think even like a place like Cleveland doesn't really get much snow out of this. There's a swath, according to the European prog model here, that we see a real solid 8 to 12 inches in some areas here. And that might be close to Chicago, maybe northern suburbs or up toward maybe Milwaukee here, maybe a small pocket of a foot to a foot and a half near the Quad Cities. Now, the GFS model has a little bit larger area of really intense snow through northern Missouri and then to Iowa, Kansas City. Could peg us for a foot of snow according to the GFS. I think the locations are pretty similar. The amounts differ a little bit between the two models, but some cities that haven't had a lot of snow so far this year, including a place like Chicago or even Lansing or Grand Rapids, get a pretty healthy snow this time around, Alex.
I recommend
This past summer, the Pacific Northwest hit hard by an unseen danger, excessive temperatures.
Yeah, meteorologist Stephanie Abrams breaks down why the extreme heat wave of 2021 reinforced why it's the #1 cause of weather-related deaths.
An invisible storm, a dome of high pressure pushing down on the Pacific Northwest and locked in a surge of severe heat. This rare, extreme wave of warmth literally rewrote the record books as temperatures skyrocketed to dangerous and deadly levels. Over a 3-day period in late June, Seattle saw 3 consecutive triple-digit days for the first time on record. The Emerald City sweated it out during dinner time when an all-time record high of 108 degrees was set just after 6 p.m. And it wasn't just Seattle that saw their temperatures rise. Salem, Oregon topped the charts with a high of 117. Portland hit 116, and Spokane, Washington doubled down, going from a record of 105 to a record of 109 the very next day. Temperatures soared more than 30 degrees above average, hot enough to crack and buckle the pavement on I-5 in Washington state. And those weren't the only lanes that saw trouble. The extreme heat also delayed the Olympic track and field trials in Eugene, Oregon. Many athletes actually forced to compete at times closer to midnight. And little to no relief came during the overnight hours. The morning lows were as warm as the average daytime highs. In places where majority of residents live without air conditioning, counties and cities rushed to open cooling centers. The city of Seattle alone opened 36 and tried to limit the impacts. Now, locals look to escape the sweltering heat by retreating to lakes and coastal areas. But warm air doesn't exactly equal warm water temperatures. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s can shock even the most experienced swimmers. At that temperature, it only takes 1 to 2 hours for exhaustion from hypothermia to set in. Officials in Washington state reported 3 drownings during the significant heat wave. The biggest weather killer in the U.S. is ultimately the heat. This unprecedented event claimed the lives of more than 170 people in Oregon and Washington state, eclipsing the 30-year average of 138 deaths per year in the entire U.S. When a farm worker in Oregon died during the excessive heat, the state quickly enacted new emergency rules to protect those working in harsh conditions, including access to cool drinking water, regular breaks when heat indices exceeded 80 degrees, and that workplaces would also provide shade. Oregon Governor Kate Brown on the new safety measures saying, quote, no one should have to decide between their health and a paycheck. Now, the historic heat wave would have been, quote, virtually impossible without human-caused climate change, according to the World Weather Attribution. Billed as a once-in-a-millennium event, it could become a once-in-a-decade event if we don't find a way to lessen the impact of global warming.
The jaw-dropping impacts didn't stop at the border in British Columbia. 570 heat-related deaths were reported during that record-breaking week-long heat wave. Alex?
It's been an uphill struggle, meanwhile, trying to keep Interstate 80 open. Now we switch from heat to snow. Reno Nevada have seen record amounts of snow since Christmas Day. Officials actually had to close the roadway for 3 days. It was reopened for vehicles and essential commercial trucks late last night. Look at that plow, though. Had its work cut out for it. Next storm bringing more snow into parts of the west. Could be looking at a foot and a half, even up to 2 feet across sections of Utah and Colorado. 6 to 12-inch totals across sections of Idaho and into western Wyoming. For the late part of the week, it's all thanks to our 2 disturbances coming into the west, bringing in moisture. So it's not just snow, but also rain we're going to be looking at across sections of especially Southern California within the next 12 to 24 hours. Take a look later today into the overnight. We've got persistent rain showers down around the Los Angeles area, Vegas, into parts of Arizona. Now, Thursday and into Friday, a lot of that precip focused across the Four Corners region with some snow showers up there into parts of the Pacific Northwest and interior sections, Intermountain West. By Saturday, this storm system moving into the central U.S., the eastern U.S., so things quieting down. But again, snowfall totals and rainfall totals will be measured in inches in parts of Southern California and southern Arizona. Around Phoenix, I think 1 to 2 inches of rain, a good bet, especially on the east side of town. For L.A., 1 to 2, even 2 to 3 inch totals with some locally higher totals in spots. So with that potential for some heavy rainfall, we've got to watch for the flash flooding potential into tomorrow morning, Los Angeles to Riverside, and then down to the Oceanside area as well. Tomorrow morning into Friday morning, some of the same areas, again, Riverside to Oceanside and areas farther east. Mike?
Well, coming up here, our live coverage continues on the Weather Channels. We're breaking down the top weather stories and keeping track of active weather. Coming up, it's Storm Center. Chris Warren, Jackie Jarris, Tevin Wooten running through the active weather for the remainder of the evening. Straight ahead here on Weather Underground, the ingredients, they are in place for a dangerous round of severe storms. We have record warmth. It is once again helping fuel serious weather across the south. And we are showing you who needs to be on alert for everything from tornadoes to extreme wind to flooding. And we're going to walk you through those risks city by city, focusing on when the worst of the weather will hit your neighborhood. And for some of you, it could be more than one round.
Yeah, the stage set for another severe weather outbreak about 48 hours from now. We're going to go in depth on the factors that will fuel Friday and Saturday's storm threat, plus where nighttime tornadoes are likely. And a soggy start to the new year across the Northeast. We're tracking a weekend system that'll bring heavy rain, maybe even a little snow to some of those major metros. All those stories and more coming up this hour on Weather Underground.
Well, so glad you could stay with us here on Weather Underground. An active day of weather will be unfolding. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. A lot going on today and through the end of the year. Even the time that we, count down 3, 2, 1, we could be dealing with severe weather.
Literally at the stroke of midnight, things could be really active, whether it be severe weather, maybe even snow and ice for some of you. Kansas City, we're looking at you.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of issues going to be happening today, especially across the south. Flooding, northern Mississippi, leading to this emergency rescues. This video out of Calhoun County, the Sheriff's Department getting out there with the Humvee doing water rescues. They report they were responding to people stranded in their homes by rising water, rescuing 3 adults and an infant.
Yeah, rising water just one of the issues today. We've got severe weather that we're watching for, flash flooding potential. By the way, take a look at temperatures. Jackson, Mississippi currently sitting at 79, Atlanta 70 degrees with some sunshine. By the way, we've seen records falling already, and that warmth unfortunately bringing with it severe weather consequences. Torcon values in the 4 to 5 range through the remainder of today, particularly across parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the state of Tennessee. Mike, we've got that tornado watch in effect and already warnings firing.
There are a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings right now. No tornado warnings yet, but I would anticipate those happening over the next few hours and maybe well into the night tonight. The active storms are right here in the middle Mississippi River Valley, so heads up from around the Boot Heel of Missouri southbound from there. Tornado watch does include Memphis, Tupelo, Mississippi, Oxford, Greenville, Monroe, Pine Bluff. These are all spots to be very, very aware of what the weather's going to be for you for the remainder of the day today. Let's focus on some of the warnings, and those warnings do include right at the Louisiana-Arkansas state line here, Claiborne Parish, Columbia, Union counties up into Arkansas here. That means until 2:15 at least, the storms could be prevalent, producing hail and high winds. Another severe thunderstorm warning for us just outside of Harold, headed toward the Longview area, even toward Hermitage and Warren. Severe thunderstorm warning for Bradley and Calhoun County, and we think these warnings only become more numerous through the remainder of the day. Little Rock, your weather's improved a little bit. Still light rain right now, but the really heavy stuff has moved out. No longer a flash flood warning there. Heavy storms right over top of Memphis right now. The good news may be this: as bad as it is right now, and you're looking at your window as you're watching us, you're going, man, it is rocking and rolling out there. It is. The rain is really pouring down on you, but not meeting the criteria, at least, for high winds or hail or tornadoes to produce a severe thunderstorm warning. So in some regards, that's good news for you. Down into Florida, some thunderstorms, small lines here from around I-10 and Chipley down near Panama City this afternoon. You can see the storms will really be active for the remainder of the day. We'll include likely these areas in the brightest and darkest reds here. Torcons as high as a 5 today. And if you're not familiar with the Torcon, it's something we instituted about a decade ago, a little more than that gives you just a simple ranking, 1 to 10. What's my risk for a tornado? If it's a 1, then you've got minimal risk. If it's a 10, you've got very, very high risk. And so we're right in the middle of that scale today. We're at a 5 for a Tupelo or a Huntsville, maybe around a Rome, Georgia, or a Chattanooga. But all you have to do is look at the future radar. It really shows how active the storms will be for the next several hours. And for many of you, especially say along I-20, as these storms lay down east to west overnight tonight, there'll be a risk. Atlanta, Birmingham, Columbia, right through the night and early morning hours. Alex?
When we talk about the severe setup or the ingredients, that warmth that many have been enjoying, one of the main factors. We've got the warm temperatures. Of course, that's adding energy for lift, but our storm system, our fronts, those are also providing lift. So severe weather likely through the second half of today. Our southerly flow of moisture, those dew points that have been on the move, you're like, it's muggy outside. That'll also help to feed our severe storms out there today. Dew points currently in the 60s and 70s across the southeast. So again, this is more typical of spring, early summer. I mean, gosh, dew points in the 70s, that's what you get in summertime. And that's what we've got down in New Orleans, closer to the Gulf Coast. So with all that moisture in play, storms likely firing through the second half of today, already firing in spots, but the severe threat and the tornado risk really coming into focus here for the afternoon. Our winds at the surface, they are south to north. So southerly winds at the surface, whereas southwesterly winds, so out of the southwest at 5,000 feet, mean the winds are turning in direction with height. That turning of wind direction with height is shear, and that factor allows those storms that do fire up to have those rotating updrafts produce tornadoes. So unfortunately, when wind shear is in play like it is today, we've got a decent threat of a tornado. And so Torcon values in that 4 to 5 range mean you need to have a way to get those warnings. Not a slam dunk, but certainly severe weather likely with tornadoes, a good possibility. Now tomorrow, still going to watch for severe weather, not as big of a risk as today and not as big of a risk as Friday, but still storms could reach severe limits across the Gulf Coast and then up into the Carolinas.
Well, for a few areas where we're going to go specifically city by city, you've got a tornado risk today. And some of those spots could mean a tornado risk even after the sun sets tonight, maybe even after you go to bed tonight. So keep that in mind. Chattanooga, Ringgold, Georgia, Scottsboro, Alabama, toward Huntsville and Decatur, all these spots. Be really, really aware. Check frequently on the weather today. I think the next couple of hours you're okay, but watch as the storms come in, dinner time and thereafter. Storm is really sweeping through, I'd say between 6 and 9 o'clock is probably your window in this part of the South. Be aware of that. For Birmingham, it probably comes a little bit later than that even. Torcons 3 and 4 across the metro here. Next couple of hours, okay, fine. Cloudy, yeah, maybe sprinkly at times, but storms come in probably shortly after 7 o'clock, could last for a few hours. And I think even if these storms lay down flat then, you could have a risk of flooding that persists for several hours, even though the severe weather risk may come down some. So you may not have high winds or hail or tornadoes even, but you might have really persistent heavy rain, which could cause some high water in spots. So do you live in one of those areas where the road fills up with water, or the backyard does, or intersections in your neighborhood fill up with water? That could be happening overnight tonight. Atlanta, your threat is later tonight. Torcons of 3 in the metro, 4 heading up I-75 for you. Again, next few hours, sprinkles, showers, nothing serious. But then probably around midnight or shortly thereafter, the line comes through. And same as Birmingham, lays down flat for us now. It produces prolonged rain. So even in the morning, you could be dealing with periods of heavier showers. And that may also lead to some low-lying flooding in areas. Now tomorrow, here comes the next round of showers and storms. Not as much of a severe weather risk tomorrow as it is today, but still watch for thunderstorms from maybe Pensacola or Mobile all the way over toward Raleigh and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And we really would encourage you to pay attention to the weather today, frequently check in. You can have the app on your TV, by the way. All you have to do if you're a cable or satellite subscriber is download it for your smart TV, Roku, Fire Stick, and you can get 24/7 access to the weather, including the latest warnings this afternoon.
Meanwhile, out west, we've got extremely heavy snow that's piling up in the Sierra Nevadas, this along the California-Nevada state line. You're looking at the conditions on Tuesday, just below Mammoth Mountain. They had 27 inches of new snow since Monday. Another 15 inches possible on the slopes before the storm moves through this evening. So good news for the ski resorts, and you can see the skiers. They were out there in full force. You had chains required. You could barely read that sign, and they are still required out there today. They actually had I-80 closed for a bit, now reopened for essential trucks and vehicles, but in those cases, chains are required. How about the snowfall total forecast moving forward? We're going to be watching for a foot and a half, even up to 2 feet here across parts of Colorado, also into the state of Utah, but plenty of areas where 6 to 12 inches are likely. In addition to the snow, we're going to be watching for rain. We've got our 2 disturbances entering the west for the second half of the week. Moisture on the increase. So again, snow for some, rain for others. Rain around San Francisco, even Los Angeles this afternoon. In fact, I think most of the rain would be focused around the Los Angeles area. And because of that potential for some at times heavier rain, we've got to watch for flash flooding there around the LA metro down to Riverside and Oceanside. By Thursday and Friday, a lot of that precip, snow and rain focused across the Four Corners region, parts of Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico before that storm system continues off towards the east. Still to come, we've got rainfall totals of 2 to 3 inches possible around the LA area. So through tomorrow morning, watching for the potential for flash flooding in some of these areas. Mike?
About 1.5 inches falling for us. Now, in some areas of the metro, we had 4 inches, but it was fun for our first real legit snow of the season. Now, more is to come New Year's Eve, bleeding over into New Year's Day, and this next one could be pretty sizable. It all gets its start in the west. We've got 2 systems coming together across the west to produce some really active weather. First one coming in across the Pacific Northwest, second one coming in across the Southwest. And what that does for us is with emerging energy, you then get storms that are ramping up in the middle of the country. So watch them come together here off the Rockies then, and then embedded in this big trough, this big undulation in the jet stream here. That's where the cold air is. This is where the warm air is. So it's going to be spring-like with storms. It's going to be winter-like with a winter storm. So let's show you what happens with the temperatures. Temperatures could be 15, 20 degrees above average across the southeast. They could be 20 to 30 degrees below average across the Midwest. There's a look at the contrast in temperatures that produces a contrast in precipitation types. Rain could actually nudge up even in the Ohio Valley here with snow farther north of that. But we've got this corridor of snow that'll set up for us. Let's start New Year's Eve morning. Showers coming in from the south. There's that cold air now leading to some of that snow for us. Kansas City, we're right there. And I think we're even at like the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve in Kansas City. Things get very interesting weather-wise. Then overnight, you wake up the first day of the new year. It's a winter wonderland, like a snow globe for you here in the Corn Belt. Rain along I-70 and rain that goes all the way up into Cleveland and Detroit. But Detroit, I think you're going to switch over here. Chicago, we're in the snow. Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, Lansing, we're in the snow. Eventually, the tail end of this, St. Louis and Indianapolis, you get in on the snow, but I think it's more rain to start with minor accumulations for those locations. There's a look at a pretty heavy-duty snow line here. A lot of us, we're in that 5 to 8 inch snow. Some of us, 8 to 12. Small areas with the European model of more than a foot of snow. Now, the American GFS model has a larger area of heavy snow. That could include near Kansas City or up toward the Quad Cities. That could be a serious snow for us in Kansas City. This could fluctuate here over the next couple of days as the models really start to hone in on this. But nonetheless, some of these spots where we're getting the snow, it'll be our biggest of the season. Chicago, that could include us. Grand Rapids or maybe a Flint or Saginaw, that includes us. The temperatures, wow, 15 Friday night for New Year's Eve, 19 to start the new year with snow and wind, 3 below zero, Alex. New Year's night, coldest by far of the year.
That is nuts. And then hard to believe we've got those kind of temperatures on tap. And then we look at Nashville right now, 64 degrees. And you're not the warmest spot in the South. Plenty of 70s, even 80s out there with records falling. Now that warmth that many have been enjoying, unfortunately, fueling our severe weather, not just today, but again on Friday. An opportunity for strong storms. More moisture moving north into an area where we've already got the moisture in place. Our storm system moving east. And our low-level winds, not just bringing in the moisture, but also increasing in intensity as we move into the overnight hours. So that will help to sustain the storms even while we're sleeping. A lot of times, we see the storms fire up during the afternoon. We lose the heat of the daytime, and we lose a lot of our storms. In the case of this, those low-level winds being on the increase, being strong, will help to continue to have strong storms overnight. So while we're sleeping during those overnight hours when typically we don't have strong storms, we will in the case of New Year's Eve into New Year's Day morning. Friday Eve and overnight, it's parts of Texas and Oklahoma through really Arkansas, though, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Those are the states with the greatest coverage of severe weather likely. By Saturday now, we're watching those storms continuing to roll eastward. So the overnight Saturday morning threat up to about 8 a.m., beyond 8 a.m., through the rest of Saturday, we're going to be seeing those storms sliding east. On Saturday, dew points in the 60s and 70s. So again, plenty of moisture to work with. Muggy in some of these areas. We look at the forecast from the European model. Friday afternoon, there go the storms across parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas. That's midnight. So Arkansas, Missouri, parts of western Tennessee could be very active for the midnight hour, for the start of the new year. By 6 o'clock in the morning, continuing to see these storms roll east lunchtime into the afternoon. We've got Mississippi and Louisiana, parts of Alabama in play, and even into the late part of Saturday, very early Sunday, Georgia and the Carolinas watching for some of those strong storms. So a lot of real estate and a lot of populated areas, Mike, in play for severe storms for the end of the week and end of the year. Yeah, definitely an active end of the year. Alex, thank you for that. And still ahead here on Weather Underground. The new year means a new round of rain and a new round of snow moving into the Midwest and Northeast. So coming up next, we're going to show you where the heaviest of that snow is expected to fall. And of course, watching some active storms for you tonight as well, including a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings across Arkansas, Bradley County, including Banks, Hermitage, and Warren under a severe thunderstorm warning right now.
Climate change is uncovering ground that has never been seen before.
Probably the largest untapped gold reserve in the entire world.
The awesome thing about Greenland is gold can be anywhere. We all gave up so much to come here.
This is more dangerous than I thought it would be.
We got trouble.
We're running out of time, man.
I don't believe you have what it takes to even be out here.
If gold was easy to find, everybody would do it.
Get the gold, dude.
All right, so an active afternoon and evening of severe weather is anticipated. I want to arm you with some knowledge here so you know exactly what to anticipate. Some storms are already now starting to flare, especially here through Arkansas with a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, but storms are coming through Memphis, up around Cape Girardeau and Paducah now. Tornado watch in effect for us will include portions of I-20 near Monroe, Louisiana, up around Pine Bluff, Arkansas, through Greenville, Mississippi, Oxford, Tupelo, and then Memphis, Tennessee as well. Those storms are really getting going right now. I think more oomph, if you will. More dynamics in the atmosphere are going to get these storms going for the remainder of the afternoon. But Memphis, we've been lucky, I think, to kind of dodge a bullet. Some pretty good storms have come ripping through, but nothing severe thunderstorm warned or tornado warned. Severe thunderstorm warnings are just outside of Greenville, Mississippi right now, over into Arkansas, around Longview and Monticello here, Bradley and Drew counties. Severe thunderstorm warning for us. So being inside, smart place to be. A lot of lightning with that storm. We had a big lightning jump. Sometimes that could even be indicative of a tornado, potentially. Some research has been done on that. Big lightning jumps can preclude a tornado. But in places like Hermitage and Monticello here, make sure that you are inside and staying put tonight. As I mentioned in Memphis, the really heavy storms have come through. The heavy stuff now east side of town, but we've been lucky to dodge any really nasty storms and any tornado warnings. Cape Girardeau storms now converging on us. Same for you, Union City, and then Paducah here. Down across the south now, one thing you'll notice right at the Alabama and Georgia state line, storms are becoming a little bit more prevalent now. We've had a line of pretty active storms through the panhandle of Florida, including between Dothan and near Panama City this afternoon. This entire area gets very active for the remainder of the day. The most likely area for severe storms in the bright and dark reds on your map there. We do have some torcons today. This is our tornado condition index. Low number, low risk. High number, high risk. We're kind of right in the middle, if you will. And it's December after all. We don't typically look at torcons this high in December, but a 5, including northern Alabama and northern Mississippi. Alex?
Now, the next storm will be moving into the east just in time for the first day of the new year. So January 1st, maybe you're heading home a day early or just, trying to get outside and enjoy it. Not going to be a day to be outdoors across a lot of the country. We start things off, though, Friday at 2 o'clock, where the storm's really focused into parts of the west, moving through the middle of the country as we head into the morning on Saturday. So you wake up, if you're up early at 7 a.m. to snow across the plains. We've got that rain, thunderstorm chances across sections of the mid-south. But look at the northeast here as we go from Friday, December 31st to January 1st. Rain overspreading the area, could be moderate to heavy at times, and that'll be the deal on Saturday. We're going to keep it rainy and keep it persistent. So a gloomy start to the new year. Inside where you want to be, have another easy day. Put something in the crock pot, whether it's, the pork and sauerkraut or whatever the good luck meal is for you guys. We've got a chance of mixed precip into parts of western, central New York and into northern sections of New England by late Saturday. During the day Sunday, our snow levels or our snow will be working into the I-95 corridor. So we're going to be watching for the chances of even a few snowflakes very quickly across parts of New York, Philadelphia, Hartford, Providence, Boston, and Portland. All could end with a quick shot of snow. According to the European model, don't have to worry about any kind of accumulations in those areas. Any accumulations, and they'll be light, would be into parts of interior New York, really central and western New York. GFS model does paint the opportunity for a very light accumulation into parts of the I-95 corridor. We're going to watch that forecast closely, see if we can get some agreement. But, Mike, certainly the chance that you could see a few snowflakes out there on January 1st.
Which means we're finally going to get some colder air, right? It's the one thing that's been missing this month, it seems like. We still have warm air across the south. Through tomorrow, the cold air ends up being maybe the Twin Cities, back toward Pierce, South Dakota here. But for many of you, the heat trend continues right through the end of the year. However, notice this. Now, this is New Year's Eve, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This front is going to be the focus of some big changes in your weather. Look at the temperatures on the front side of that. 50s and 60s, really incredible. And then there's some spots there where you're in the single digits. Watch that front come through. Watch the numbers really dive then as you usher in 2022. Look at some of these numbers. And then go through Saturday to Sunday morning. 0 in Kansas City, 9 below in Des Moines, 17 below in Minneapolis. I think that 13 in St. Louis is going to feel really uncomfortable to you, and a 10 in Chicago. For Indianapolis, downslide the numbers. Saturday, New Year's Day, all the way through the 2nd. Look at those steady decline in temperatures here. You go from rain over to some brief snow. Then even some wind could accompany that, which means wind chill is finally a factor.
It's going to be quite a change for a lot of people. You're like, are these goosebumps? Haven't felt those in a while.
Right?
Well, today's severe threat bad enough, but it could get even worse New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. We're going to break down the forecast for the end of the week next.
I want to take you live to Little Rock, Arkansas right now. It's been pretty wet this afternoon, that's for sure. If there's some good news, the good news is this, is that the severe weather risk likely to be farther to your east. The flood warning that we had earlier today, the flash flood warning we had earlier today, no longer there. And so maybe some incremental improvements in your weather here through the evening, but eastern Arkansas may not be as lucky.
No, we're watching a threat of tornadoes. We've got a tornado watch posted, continuing to watch some severe warnings, knowing that as we go through the later afternoon, we think those numbers are going to go way up.
Yeah, we do. So alongside Alex Wilson, I'm Mike Bettis. Thanks for being with us. Going to help you get through the afternoon and evening because a lot of severe weather is on tap with, as Alex mentioned, tornado watches in effect. So we've got you here until 4 o'clock. Then right after us, it's Storm Center.
Yeah, that's coming up 4 o'clock Eastern to 8 o'clock. And our coverage does not end after Storm Center. We're with you through the evening. And by the way, you can download the Weather Channel app on your TV. Existing cable and satellite subscribers can get the Weather Channel on Roku, Fire Stick, and your smart TV for 24/7 access to the latest alerts, forecasts, local radar, and live coverage.
All right, so let's give you an idea of what's happening for us right now. And maybe the good news is this, that it hasn't gotten extremely active just yet. It may still do it today, but maybe some good signs that we've only had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings today. Having said that, that line right in there is pretty intense across the middle Mississippi River Valley here. So Union City down toward Memphis, on your way down toward southeastern Arkansas. Those are areas that we'd really be mindful of the weather today. Tornado watch in effect. That includes this area of Greenville, Mississippi, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Memphis, Tupelo. Heads up, these storms are pretty potent right now. Not a lot of them are severe thunderstorm warned. In Memphis, that line came tearing on through, but didn't produce any warnings. I take that as a good sign. Hopefully we can avoid some of the worst of the weather today, but clusters of storms. We've got a storm around El Dorado here and up around just outside of Greenville, headed toward Monticello tonight. This afternoon, I should say, Bradley and Drew counties with a severe thunderstorm warning here in Arkansas. That had a little bit of a hail core on it, then it died down, and now it looks like it might be trying to come back again. Memphis, the storm line has gone through for us. The worst of it now over towards, say, maybe Oakland, headed toward Holly Springs. I-55 south of Memphis could still be trouble for you. Cape Girardeau, Carbondale, Union City, Paducah, all spots where also that storm line rips through for you. The weather's gotten a little bit more active now, say Columbus, Georgia, down toward Dothan, near Panama City, and that area could stay active for a couple more hours with a lot of return flow coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico. All that heat and humidity is just kicking these storms off today, and they'll continue to go well through the night tonight. I know unusual pattern for December, but if there were any place in the country that would look for severe weather in December, this is that spot, but just anomalously warm, that's for sure. 70s and 80s just doesn't feel like December. This is the area of concern today. The area most likely to get tornadoes would be near Memphis, Tupelo, Huntsville. That line that's come through Memphis, though, I take it as a good sign it wasn't warned, and maybe that shift will go east of Memphis, but those downstream, just heads up.
Yeah, and then we've got another chance of severe weather in some of the same areas headed your way on Friday. Of course, end of 2021, start of 2022. Really, as we are counting down, ringing in the new year, you may be dealing with some strong to severe storms. We've got more moisture moving north, moisture already in place. Remember, across these areas, we're talking about the warmth and humidity now. More of that to come to finish off the week and year. Low-level winds will help to bring more moisture to the north, and that also will increase as we head into the overnight. So those low-level winds on the increase will sustain those storms during the overnight. So keeping them strong and severe while you're sleeping. Usually we see things die down in the overnight. Not going to be the case for this event. As we look towards the Friday evening overnight forecast, so this is till about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. We're watching parts of Oklahoma and Texas up through Kentucky and Tennessee. But then during the day on Saturday, those storms continue eastward. So we watch some of the bigger metros, Nashville, Atlanta, Knoxville, and Birmingham for storms during the day, all the way into the evening and overnight Saturday and Sunday. Saturday dew points into the 60s and low 70s. So again, we'll keep that spring-like feel going into the final days of December. Forecast from the European model looks like this. Those storms continuing to move through sections of the Mid-South late on Saturday, or rather late on Friday, early Saturday, and during the day Saturday, continuing to slide into parts of the Southeast. So a lot of areas to watch.
It just seems like they're coming every couple of days now, and these ones are getting more and more impactful. Alex, thanks for that. Still to come here on Weather Underground, diving deep into the reasons we're seeing severe weather threats across the South. One of the reasons is spring-like temperatures, then creating spring-like storms. So all the details on those watches and warnings when we come back here on Weather Underground. We'll keep a real close eye on you there in Memphis, across Arkansas, eventually into Mississippi. We're back right after this.
Local.
Thanks for staying with us. Certainly an active afternoon and evening anticipated as far as severe weather goes. Some storms have already begun to kick here across the Mid-South. So from, let's say, southern Illinois down through the middle Mississippi River Valley. This is an area that could become quite active. We think especially across, say, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas. We could get some storms really firing for us today. There's our tornado watch. It's in effect until 7 o'clock. This evening. The storms that are in there right now, none of them have actually shown a lot of oomph to them. We've had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, nothing yet that has produced any rotation in it or produced tornadoes, but that could be anticipated here over the next few hours. One severe thunderstorm warning just outside of Greenville, Mississippi, headed toward the river here. This is a warning in Arkansas, right near Monticello here, Bradley and Drew counties with that severe thunderstorm warning. So a little bit of hail could be anticipated in that. I see a little purple popping in there, so a really small area of hail right along Highway 425. The big line has come through Memphis. We had no warnings issued with that, thank goodness. And then big storms are now producing some heavy rain. Cape Girardeau, eventually Paducah, coming through Union City with heavy to moderate rain. Line of storms now starting to form here. Columbus back down toward Dothan, Alabama, and near Panama City. But the overall picture produces storms. There's a lot of storms out there for the remainder of the day. This area highlighted in the bright red, then that kind of burnt red color, the most likely areas for tornadoes today. With a Torcon kind of in that medium range. Our scale is 1 to 10. We're putting 4s and 5s on the map today. Not exactly something we do every day in December, but it's not been the most typical December. Let's just put it that way. Near Pine Bluff, over towards, say, Chattanooga or Rome, Georgia. I anticipate tornadoes for the remainder of the day, maybe even after dark tonight. So make sure you know where to go, find a sturdy shelter, and get there quickly when the warnings are issued. Alex?
Good advice. And a lot of this severe weather coming in the areas that have the extreme warmth. In fact, that's fueling the severe weather. So, you know the saying, we take the good with the bad. Unfortunately, the good is leading to the bad in these cases. Many people have been loving the warmth, been able to be outside, but these potential record highs also offering up the danger for severe weather, not just today, but again on Friday. Highs so far today, record setting from Beaumont and Galveston, Texas to Montgomery, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, and Atlanta, all setting records. Atlanta, it's a tie. Other areas breaking records today. Hard to believe those temperatures are for the second to last day or third to last day of December. We look at high temperatures, a lot of areas into the 80s today. These temperatures have been 15, 20, even 25 degrees above average. Well, tomorrow, more of the same. We just copy paste today's forecast and warmth. You can see areas across Louisiana and Mississippi and Tennessee and North Carolina get in on that way above average air. And by the way, records again falling tomorrow, more likely than not in Vero Beach. Victoria, Texas, you'll be close. Meridian, you'll be close. I think Galveston, you'll get it again. And Charlotte, North Carolina will be close in the low 70s, mid 70s, your record high temperature for the date tomorrow. On Friday, plenty of areas areas remaining 15, 20, 25 degrees above average. So again, with that well above average warmth, we again watch for the possibility of strong to severe storms to be likely. And Friday again could be setting records, or at least getting close to records, in many parts of the south central and southeast U.S. Mike?
So we've got a pretty dynamic jet stream pattern. Now, everything buckles as we go into the weekend, and so that cold air really filters southbound here. That's where the cold air meets up with moisture, and we're going to get a pretty good snowstorm, we think. On the front side of that, where you have the more moist air, another round of severe weather rolls in for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So as we go into the weekend, there's the setup. You can see the color contours. That cold air really locked in there across the western Great Lakes. The coldest air will be contrasted by the warmest air in the southeast. You can see the divide line. That's where that jet stream was, right? Cold air north and the warm air south. Severe storms and then snow. That's the end result, right? Let's go through Friday morning. You'll see the showers begin to pull northbound through the day. Here we are, 11 o'clock in the evening. So now we're getting close to New Year's Eve and midnight, the stroke of midnight. We're changing over here to rain or snow then in Kansas City around the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. It's going to be strange to see, right? But then the really cold air settles in. The snow goes gangbusters New Year's Day. And you can see some really heavy snow at times, maybe through the Quad Cities, Chicago, Lansing, Michigan. Rain farther south. So I think even like a place like Cleveland doesn't really get much snow out of this. There's a swath, according to the European prog model here, that we see a real solid 8 to 12 inches in some areas here. And that might be close to Chicago, maybe northern suburbs, or up toward maybe Milwaukee here. Maybe a small pocket of a foot to a foot and a half near the Quad Cities. Now, the GFS model has a little bit larger area of really intense snow through northern Missouri and then to Iowa. Kansas City could peg us for a foot of snow according to the GFS. I think the locations are pretty similar. The amounts differ a little bit between the two models, but some cities that haven't had a lot of snow so far this year, including a place like Chicago or even Lansing or Grand Rapids, get a pretty healthy snow this time around, Alex.
Yeah, that is a big snow. Well, we're going to get you back to the severe weather. Dangerous conditions in the south mean you want to stay with us throughout the evening. Make sure to download the Weather Channel app. Existing cable and satellite subscribers can get the Weather Channel on Roku, Fire Stick, and smart TVs.
Don't you worry now. There's no need to worry now. It's been a long, long day, and you can shine now.
I recommend Nature Made vitamins because I trust their quality. They were the first to be verified by USP, an independent organization that sets strict quality and purity standards. Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient. But with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most.
With the Generac, it powers our well, our refrigerator, and my CPAP machine, which are all things that we need to survive on a day-to-day basis.
Get the security and peace of mind your family deserves with a home standby generator from Generac. 8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
It's a peace of mind to get the Generac generator. That was the best investment that we could have ever made.
Prices start at just $19.99, and owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing is available with low monthly payment options. Act now, and you will also receive a free 7-year warranty valued at $695. Call or go online now to request your free quote.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today.
They give us love. They give us joy. They give us lessons in sharing. So give them some love back. And what says love better than something you can chew on? Use your MasterCard to make secure purchases from anywhere. So your gift will end up in the right hands or mouth. Because being there for each other is priceless.
Asking what will Pop-Tarts do is how you get from toast and jam to that's my jam. From Sunday to Sunye. So, like, what would Pop-Tarts do here? Yeah, that feels right. Crazy good.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commissions.
We would definitely use Ideal Agent again. The whole process was so positive for us.
Excellent service.
Getting right to the point, hiring Ideal Agent, I wish we would have done that sooner, and we would have saved 6 months of, of time and mortgage payments that would have probably never happened if we would have just gone with them first.
They were so stress-free. The whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We certainly recommend Ideal Agent now to all of our family, all of our friends. It's just a great experience.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
Pushing everything to the max. We're going to need every pound of power we have.
The stress level is huge.
The tension has to go somewhere.
Every second that we're out here, we're at risk. It's a recipe for disaster.
We are watching active warnings across sections of the south central U.S. right now. We've got a tornado warning in the state of Arkansas. So we're looking at southeastern parts of Arkansas, well to the southeast of the Little Rock area. I'll give you a closer look at these warnings and where they're going. We're beginning to see those storms really beginning to fire up here. Tornado warning for Arkansas, Deshay, and Lincoln counties here. This includes the city of Dumas, as well as Mitchellville and Red Fork. A radar indicated tornado. This is going to take us all the way up to the Mississippi River. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning there off to the south. This one newly issued to the south and east of the Monticello area. This one could bring you some gusty winds as well as the potential for some hail. But again, there's our tornado warned storm for the Dumas area. You can see that area of rotation very clear. The red's moving away from the radar, the green's moving towards the radar. So a very clear signal here that we are dealing with some rotation headed towards the Dumas area between Dumas and Winchester. If you're traveling that roadway, or really honestly, I guess if you're watching TV, you may know somebody traveling that roadway. So give them a buzz, let them know this storm is passing through. Again, well-defined area of rotation. This storm is headed towards the Dumas area in 8 minutes. Back Gate 15 minutes from now. Red Fork 23 minutes, and Benzel 32 minutes from now. If you're in the path of this storm, lowest level, most interior room where you need to be. And remember, our tornado watch remains in effect until 7 o'clock Central Time for portions of Arkansas, Mississippi, and into the state of Tennessee. Well, this past summer, the Pacific Northwest was hit hard by an unseen danger, excessive temperatures. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams breaks down why the extreme heat wave of 2021 reinforced why it's the #1 cause of weather-related deaths.
An invisible storm, a dome of high pressure pushing down on the Pacific Northwest and locked in a surge of severe heat. This rare, extreme wave of warmth literally rewrote the record books as temperatures skyrocketed to dangerous and deadly levels. Over a 3-day period in late June, Seattle saw 3 consecutive triple-digit days for the first time on record. The Emerald City sweated it out during dinner time when an all-time record high of 108 degrees was set just after 6 p.m. And it wasn't just Seattle that saw their temperatures rise. Salem, Oregon topped the charts with a high of 117. Portland hit 116, and Spokane, Washington doubled down, going from a record of 105 to a record of 109 the very next day. Temperatures soared more than 30 degrees above average, hot enough to crack and buckle the pavement on I-5 in Washington state. And those weren't the only lanes that saw trouble. The extreme heat also delayed the Olympic track and field trials in Eugene, Oregon. Many athletes actually forced to compete at times closer to midnight. And little to no relief came during the overnight hours. The morning lows were as warm as the average daytime highs. In places where majority of residents live without air conditioning, counties and cities rushed to open cooling centers. The city of Seattle alone opened 36 and tried to limit the impacts. Now, locals look to escape the sweltering heat by retreating to lakes and coastal areas. But warm air doesn't exactly equal warm water temperatures. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s can shock even the most experienced swimmers. At that temperature, it only takes 1 to 2 hours for exhaustion from hypothermia to set in. Officials in Washington state reported 3 drownings during the significant heat wave. The biggest weather killer in the U.S. is ultimately the heat. This unprecedented event claimed the lives of more than 170 people in Oregon and Washington state, eclipsing the 30-year average of 138 deaths per year in the entire U.S. When a farm worker in Oregon died during the excessive heat, the state quickly enacted new emergency rules to protect those working in harsh conditions, including access to cool drinking water, regular breaks when heat indices exceeded 80 degrees, and that workplaces would also provide shade. Oregon Governor Kate Brown on the new safety measures saying, quote, "No one should have to decide between their health and a paycheck." Now, the historic heat wave would have been, quote, "virtually impossible without human-caused climate change," according to the World Weather Attribution. Billed as a once-in-a-millennium event, it could become a once-in-a-decade event if we don't find a way to lessen the impact of global warming.
Well, the jaw-dropping impacts did not stop there. Unfortunately, we saw more extreme heat across sections of the West. Up in British Columbia, 570 heat-related deaths were reported during the record-breaking week-long heat wave. Our live coverage continues next on the Weather Channel. We are watching those severe storms, including that new tornado warning in the state of Arkansas. We're going to get you all caught up on that. Storm Center coming up next. Chris Warren, Jackie Jarris have you covered 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. And by the way, our coverage here on the Weather Channel continues even after that, so stay tuned. Again, tornado warning in the state of Arkansas with tornado watches posted for many areas. There's that tornado warning, Arkansas, Deshay, and Lincoln County. Storm Center, just in a moment.
Psoriasis.
Breaking right now, severe weather on tap here on Storm Center. We are watching the risk of all hazards and all forms of severe weather across parts of the South. We are just getting started with storms right now. Our first tornado of the warning has just been issued. We've got torcons from a 2 all the way up to a 5 in northern Mississippi as well as into Alabama. We are tracking it all on Storm Center. We've got live coverage continuing through the evening. We've got to want to get right to meteorologist Chris Warren, who is on the radar with the latest warnings. Chris?
And you see right there where that torcon is right now, Jackie. There is a tornado warning within the area where we are expecting to see some of the worst of the severe weather today. Again, this is a tornado warning right now. This does include parts of Arkansas County, Deshay County, and Lincoln counties. To give you a broad view of where this is, you can see this is in the southeast part of Arkansas here. There's also a flash flood warning, and south of the tornado warning, just southwest of it, there is a severe thunderstorm warning right now. Again, Dumas right here, getting word that perhaps the rear flank downdraft, so the air coming down and around, may be helping to choke this thing out a bit. However, we also have a severe thunderstorm warning to the south, which also looks rather potent. This is associated with the line of storms that does have the potential for bringing some damaging winds. But if you are in any of these counties right here and any of these cities, including Mitchellville and Red Fork, take cover right now. Tornado warning currently in effect. Again, we are looking at a very warm and humid air mass, cold front coming in, triggering the thunderstorms and heavy rain. We have hours and hours to go here across the south and southeast for the potential of some strong storms. Also, some flooding will continue. The threat for flooding will continue into the overnight hours and into the early morning. Again, this is where the Storm Prediction Center, areas in red, have issued a tornado watch. This means conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes. We have seen the ingredients come together, and now within this area, a tornado warning and a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, this is that severe thunderstorm warning right here, and again, a tornado warning right now. Currently in effect here for these areas in Arkansas. This is in the southeast part of the state. Arkansas, Dacia, and Lincoln counties, Dumas, Mitchellville, and Red Fork are the cities. This tornado warning is in effect until 3:30. This is radar indicated tornado warning right now. And then a pretty strong storm here. May have some large hail potentially associated with this. Everything's on the table today. Think of this as a spring day with an earlier sunset. That's it. Storms are going to be going after sunset and during the overnight hours tonight. Damaging winds, possibly large hail, and tornadoes, all possible today through several states in the south. Today and tonight, I should say. Lightning, another danger, of course, with severe weather and thunderstorms. We're seeing some heavy rain moving into, or about to move into, Paducah. And to the south, a few thunderstorms now going from Alabama into Georgia, including Columbus, south side of town especially. You may be hearing that rumble of thunder in a big way. The Panhandle in Florida, showers and thunderstorms. Parts of Alabama, parts of Georgia, and even Mississippi going to have multiple rounds of at least rain showers and at times thunderstorms that may end up being severe as well. So again, as we look at the high-resolution future radar, this is 8, 9, 10, now midnight, and the storm still rocking from Birmingham to Atlanta, then south of town by daybreak. A closer look at some of these areas here. This is Huntsville, Fort Payne, Trenton, Chattanooga, Ringgold, Georgia as well. Torcons of 3, 4, and 5. The max threat is a 10. But if there is a number, there is a threat. So we're up to a 5 here in parts of the south. The high-resolution future radar for some of these areas, we can see here's 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, somewhere in there, between 5 and 8, let's say, for Huntsville. Some of the worst of the weather will be coming through. Similar story here in Chattanooga. And then through the next several hours, we'll watch it move off. So before midnight, we'll say, between 10 and 11, conditions should be improving, and you should be able to finally get a little bit of sleep. Here's the forecast now for Birmingham. Torcon of 4 up here, 3 up here. So depending on where you are in Birmingham, overall there is a tornado threat is what you need to know here. Timing for this, here's the afternoon, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7. This could be one of those deals where you have a strong storm come ahead of the main line. It's like an uppercut, and then a jab here as this comes through into Birmingham. So we are watching for the showers and storms, again, for the potential of some of the stronger storms. Again, this is Atlanta today to tonight. Through the overnight hours is when we're likely to have some of the stronger storms. This is the high-resolution future radar. Here's going through now 10, 11. Here's midnight going through until about 4 or 5 in the morning. We could see a flood threat, I think, south of town with these storms lingering. I am getting word that the tornado warning has been canceled, so this is a little bit of good news we can share with you at the top of the hour. Not a short-lived tornado warning. Let's go back right now to Arkansas. Okay, so some good news here. We can see that this is up here just to the north is where that tornado warning was initially expected or was issued for. Again, that has expired. Still, Jackie, watching this storm down here just outside of McGee here in Arkansas. Again, this is still early, And there's threat, Jackie, going into the overnight hours.
Yeah, we've got many hours ahead of us where we're going to have to be watching for the threat of severe weather, but also we are concerned about some flash flooding. We've already been seeing that in parts of Mississippi. You can see emergency crews having to do rescues this morning. This is in Calhoun County. The sheriff's office had to use a Humvee to get through the high water to rescue 3 adults and a baby that were trapped by the rising water. More than 20 others had to evacuate their homes. Radar estimating somewhere between 3 and 5 inches of rain fell there in Calhoun County. Now, flash flooding is going to be an ongoing concern with these storms that can dump a heavy amount of rain in a very short period of time. We've had a lot of humidity across the south and east and unstable conditions. Temperatures have just been insane. In fact, record-breaking in many areas today, from Atlanta stretching down into parts of Texas. The amount of moisture in the atmosphere is very high. We've seen some peaks of sunshine today, which has been leading to the instability into the atmosphere. We've got favorable wind conditions to help support organization for thunderstorms, to help them sustain themselves for a longer period of time, but also turning winds and stronger winds with height, which supports supercell types of thunderstorms that can produce tornadoes. And we had just our 1 tornado warning here already. So this is the beginning of what's going to be an active rest of the afternoon and into the overnight. And we're timing this out for you here hour by hour. We're expecting to see some individual supercells, but also some clusters and some bowing segments. And bowing segments, like what the radar is trying to depict right within that area, that can be indicative of some damaging winds. So that will be a concern with those winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. There you can see 9, 10 o'clock tonight, perhaps moving through the Birmingham area, pushing through Mississippi on up into eastern Tennessee and northern parts of Georgia. Atlanta, I think the metro area, really looking at it 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock into the morning for your main concern. So this is happening after dark, and that tornado threat may continue. So make sure you have multiple ways to be alerted and ways to get alerted that are going to wake you up if you're sleeping here for tonight. And there you can see those storms will continue into tomorrow morning as well. So the risk area overall as a whole today, storms initiating within this region right now, and they will continue to spread and propagate off towards the east. Farther south you are, the less likely you are to see the severe weather. It's really going to be focused, I think, northwest Mississippi, northern parts of Alabama, southern parts of Tennessee. I think those are going to be the sweet spots, especially for the rotating storms. So our Torcons, just to remind you, those numbers are up there at 4s and 5s and 3s. The higher the number, the higher the risk. And if there's a number, though, that means there's a risk. And that's a broad area, Chris, that we've got to keep our eye on here tonight.
Yeah, it most certainly is. And then, unfortunately, tomorrow there's still a threat. I mean, now the degree to what the threat is going to vary from day to day, but nonetheless, there's another tornado threat again tomorrow. And that's what I want to start off with. A look here at the thunderstorm threat, which also includes the possibility there will be tornadoes tomorrow. It's a 2 out of 10, so not as high of a number, not as high as a 5 that we have today. However, still a tornado threat, still a threat here, including areas from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Carolinas. This is how things are expected to play out. Again, storms early on, maybe picking up south of Atlanta, south of Birmingham again tomorrow afternoon, midday, before things work out and work offshore into the evening hours, and then you get a little bit of a break. So we've got a long way to go here, at least a 24-hour period across parts of the South where we're going to deal with the possibility for some strong storms. So here's now Friday. All right, Jackie and I just looked at today, we looked at tomorrow, and now here is Friday, how things may be playing out. We got a warm front here, also a warm front up here. So some moist and humid air here, and even more moist and humid air here. And then we're going to see another developing system just to the west that'll be moving in, helping to trigger more storms Friday night as well. So these low-level winds are going to help pull even more moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico. And then here comes that cold front Friday night. Could see some storms firing along the warm front. The air will be lifting up and over the warm front. And then as you go up higher into the atmosphere, we have these winds, these strong winds that help organize these storms, tilt them a little bit so the downdraft is separated from the updraft. These storms are going to last longer, they can be stronger, and they may be rotating as well. So the potential for severe weather again with us on Friday. Here's the quick forecast here. Friday, thunderstorms with potentially heavy rain threat throughout the mid-Mississippi River Valley, also the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley. At the same time, Jackie, going to be dealing with some snow in other parts of the country. So severe weather going to be the next, at least taking us every day until we go into the weekend.
It is really concerning to me that it's New Year's Eve night into New Year's Day, right? When people are out there reveling and trying to have a good time. So you definitely want to pay attention and make sure that you're sharp enough. We'll just put it like that. Stay sharp enough so that you're weather alert and weather aware to stay safe as we head into the weekend. Now, severe thunderstorms are forecast to move across a really broad area, stretching from Arkansas and Louisiana to southern Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia into your Saturday and Sunday. There you can see the latest where we have a severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect for parts of Arkansas, including you in Arkansas City. So big concern there, some hail and some damaging winds. So let's talk more about the weekend and what we can expect going forward into New Year's Day. So early Saturday, we're going to have a cold front, a developing area of low pressure. This is the storm system that right now is the new storm across the western U.S. So this thing is going to track all the way across the country. Plenty of energy still available. We're never really going to clean out the energy or the moisture here into the southeast for the rest of the week and into the weekend. So as these new impulses and these new storms come in from the west, that sort of resets the atmosphere and just aggravates everything and gets things going and popping just all over again. This time around, what's more concerning early Saturday is that we have a stronger kink in our jet stream, so a stronger trough. But in addition to that, our upper level winds are going to be very strong as well. And so we do think that Saturday could be one of the most significant days when it comes to severe weather and that risk. Now, there's still some uncertainty as to exactly where the setup for this is going to be because of the track of that low. When you're low and your storm is still offshore, the models have a hard time picking that up. So I really want you to stay tuned through the rest of the week into the weekend to stay aware and alert of where these risk areas are going to be because they very well may be changing. But timing it out to the best of our ability right now, here you can see New Year's Day, 1 o'clock across the Mississippi River Valley, through the Tennessee River Valley, working its way eastward with a cold front once again. New Orleans, Mobile, Pensacola, Birmingham yet again, as well as Huntsville. So this is going to be moving over spots that already got saturated from storms earlier in the week. So not just a severe weather threat that's going to continue Saturday into Sunday, talking about ringing in the new year like a lion, right? But that could also bring the threat of some flash flooding across the weekend. And this is interesting, and it's really been getting a lot of buzz, I think, on social media. I don't want you to get too excited about that blue stuff that you see here, our models. It's just a hint of what we're going to see. It could finish off with maybe a couple of flakes. If anything, it would be snow for show. You should be concerned about the threat of severe weather. Don't worry about that blue stuff because it may very well go away as we head towards the weekend. The flood threat is going to be real, though, too. We could see anywhere between 1 to 2 inches of rainfall widespread. This is just Friday through Sunday. That doesn't account what we're going to be getting, today, tonight, into tomorrow as well. So you put that on top of the 1 to 3 we're probably going to get within the next 48 hours, and that could mean some flash flood trouble yet again. Chris?
I want to get back to the active weather right now as we look on the radar with the storms that are still developing and will be going for quite some time. The yellow, orange, and the red, some of the heaviest rain at the moment. And within this area, severe thunderstorm warning and a flash flood warning currently in effect. That severe thunderstorm warning in an area where there is a tornado watch. So the Storm Prediction Center says, hey, you know what? Conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes in these areas. It's until 7 o'clock. We'll keep you posted if more watches are issued beyond this. Again, watches means, you got to be on alert, have a way to get the warnings. If you get a warning, that's when you have to take action. You go to your safe place. Again, a lot of storms firing up. We're going to be watching for the potential of storms, especially in this area right here in the coming hours for the possibility of more severe weather and tornadoes, including this one just north of Greenville. And we're going to continue to track this. A lot of storms firing up tonight. Stay with us here on Storm Center.
The black man has been seen as many things.
Oh, damn. Y'all about to get nasty.
But we laugh, we cry, and we love.
What the?
territory for sure.
We're pushing everything to the max. We're going to need every pound of power we have.
We are not going to give up. We have to get the job done.
The stress level is huge.
The tension has to go somewhere.
Hold it! What are you doing? What's up?
Every second that we're out here, we're at risk. It's a recipe for disaster.
Severe weather right now on the Weather Channel. That's what we're tracking. A few light showers ahead of the main line right here in Greenwood, Mississippi. This is Charles Peak, storm tracker Charles Peak. He is driving in a little bit of rain right now, and I believe he is most likely heading to the north based on just the sky conditions here. And knowing Charles, probably trying to get out ahead of the main line here. So Greenwood, Mississippi is to the east of where there is currently a severe thunderstorm warning. And if that does stay together and Charles does stay, or if he is going to the north, if he is going in that direction, then he'll be getting into some of the heavier rain and showers. So this is Charles right here. That's his shot. Here's Greenwood, Mississippi. And my guess is that he is probably driving somewhere in here. Can't say for 100% certainty. Haven't spoken with him in a little while, but that's what I would imagine he would be doing. Here's the severe thunderstorm warning that is currently in effect, and it includes Arkansas City, Haley, and McGee until 3:45. So the potential for some large hail, damaging winds associated with this, and you're starting to get that supercell thunderstorm look. You're really getting that look right here. Greenville, Mississippi, to give you an idea of how unusual things were. Yesterday until today. So yesterday, the standing high for today. The record high, 79 degrees, set in 1929. No more. Today, it reached 82 degrees. And here we are. The very end of December certainly feels more like a spring day. And just to the north of you, again, the previous record, 79 degrees. Today, it is 82 degrees, beating a record that's been standing for almost 100 years by 3 degrees. Here is all of that severe weather that we're going to be tracking, all of the thunderstorms that could turn into severe weather. And of course, Jackie, the tornado watch, where at least until 7 o'clock, Storm Prediction Center says conditions will be favorable for the development of tornadoes. This can, I would expect this to expand as well, given the torcons we have out there. Yeah. But just as the Storm Prediction Center, as they bring in, give us the new watches, we'll be sure to pass them along too. Yeah, and we'll continue later into the night. We've got another team of meteorologists after us to keep you up to date on the air. Now, in sharp contrast to that severe weather and those record highs, we have got cold air and a lot of snow across parts of the West. In fact, it's still snowing in the Sierra Nevada. The massive amount of snow burying towns like Truckee, as well as shutting down Interstate 80 for 3 days. It's open, but they're asking everyone to not travel if you can help it, because conditions are still dicey, change required in many of these areas. So drivers have been able to get out. Just critical employees are asked to get out. Everybody else staying home. But look at that. Look at the massive amounts of snow that you've got on the roofs there. Now, we want to take you to Reno, Nevada, where the snow continues to come down here. 31 degrees, very cloudy, kind of almost looks a little gloomy, doesn't it? But the white snow kind of perking everything up. So our next winter storm is working its way in across the West. And this one is kind of complicated because we've got a couple of different pieces of energy that are going to be coming together to bring a pretty powerful storm that's going to linger in the West for a couple of days. So let's show you the setup of how this is all going to be unfolding. We've got an area of low pressure working its way across parts of California, heading your way in here. And then our next low to the north is going to be dipping down with that. It's going to have to take a little pivot across the southwest, and then eventually it's going to be moving its way into parts of the plains. But we're going to be getting a lot of rain and a lot of snow this next go around. This is really going to be a tomorrow through Friday at least type of event. The weekend does look a little bit better though here into the West still. And just timing this out for you,
a little bit of an atmospheric river set up for Southern California. We've got flash flood watches and flood watches in Southern Cal, including you in San Diego right now, and a lot of advisories and alerts for the winter weather to the higher elevations here across the west. This will likely be a big snowmaker across the Colorado Rockies. We definitely need that, and there you can see things drying out as we head towards your Saturday. But it doesn't stop there. This thing is going to keep moving. Once this heads into the nation's midsection, we're going to get a lot of cold air drawing down with that. That area of low pressure is going to be intensifying. Out ahead of it, we'll likely see more severe weather. But on the north side of all of this, that air is going to be cold enough that we're going to see a lot of snow. In fact, we could see very big snowfall numbers in places like Kansas City on up towards Chicago. This may ultimately end up being the sweet spot for some big snows. In addition to that, likely going to see a little bit of freezing rain to go along with it. Chris?
Hey, Jackie, got to tell you what, I just got a text from Charles Peak, and he said I was right. He is driving north here around Greenwood. Let's take a live look right now at some darker clouds now. What was a little bit of rain, now an approaching thunderstorm here in Greenwood, Mississippi. We're tracking this storm, also the potential for several more tonight here on Storm Center.
You got her the perfect gift. Does it matter if you give her the perfect batteries? Well,
right now, tracking the severe weather threat here on the Weather Channel, and we're watching the storm watchers here. Storm tracker Charles Peak is out. This is live or close to live here in Greenwood, Mississippi. I think Charles just drove out of a storm. I believe he's still heading to the north, and as he does, he's going to get closer to the main line of storms that we're tracking. And what's good about this part of Mississippi where Charles is, good visibility on the horizon. Sometimes you can get into heavily wooded areas, but in this point with dry roads, you can see for a long way. So things are looking good right now for Charles to get into position to help track the storms. Now, let's remember the importance of people that are out there, the trained spotters that are out looking at these storms. They're the ones that can report back to the National Weather Service and say, hey, I see rotation, or that is a funnel cloud, right? So the remote sensing, the radars that we have, the different radar products, I should say, give us a really good idea of what may be happening, but it's storm trackers that are out there that can say, confirmed, this is what's going on, whether it's large hail, damaging winds, or a tornado. All right, so right now, this is the one severe thunderstorm warning that is currently in effect right now, just here in Arkansas, just east of 165. And heading now into Mississippi, you can see right here a whole line of storms. It's in this area where in the near term, I think we're going to see some of the stronger storms. By near term, I mean the next several hours until sunset and then after midnight into the early morning hours. But right now, flash flood warning and a severe thunderstorm warning at the moment. This is well within the area where the Storm Prediction Center has issued a tornado watch, where conditions still remain favorable for the development of tornadoes, and would be expecting, or I should say would not be surprised, if more watches are issued east in the direction in which this line is heading, as the conditions will remain favorable in that direction. Again, another look at that severe thunderstorm warning currently in effect. Could have some large hail associated with that right in here, and even giving kind of a little bit of a hook appearance there within it. So I would expect that there is some rotation with this storm right here. Let me just get this up just a little bit more. That last frame, do you see this last frame right here? Really gets that kind of look to it, and it's embedded right in there. So we'll see what happens with this. But again, if you're within this area, make sure everybody's inside the lowest level of your home. Could have some damaging winds. Jackie?
Well, another round of potentially dangerous storms will be moving across the south again this weekend. Now, much of the deep and mid-south could see severe thunderstorms and the possibility of tornadoes. We've got a risk each and every day, but Saturday is looking a little bit more significant than Thursday and Friday, though Friday night into New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, that is going to be a big concern. So think about that now as you're making your plans for your weekend and how you might have to alter them based on the risk of severe weather. So it's a pretty large area that we're talking about, from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, on up into Tennessee and parts of Georgia, the same areas that are going to be getting hit over and over again. So the main setup is bringing in our storm from the west, and low pressure is going to redevelop across parts of the plains and then head on up towards the Great Lakes region. So we're going to have a very large warm sector once again. So plenty of energy all within here available for storms to grow and to develop. A ton of moisture that's in place. This moisture never really sweeping out this week. I mean, you can feel the moisture. You live in this area, you walk outside and you're like, it's humid. I seriously questioned as to whether or not I should turn my air conditioner on today. The temperature is warm in the low 70s, but the humidity is so high, making it feel muggy. We have strong low-level winds. That's going to help to maintain the storms and allow them to live for longer periods of time, and those strong upper-level winds favorable to support rotating thunderstorms and more severe weather. So Saturday looks like this. We're going to have it overnight Friday night, New Year's Eve night into New Year's Day. This is going to be ongoing through the morning hours and continuing to track off towards the east. Places like Nashville, Huntsville, into Atlanta still with that risk into the evening hours, and then working its way over towards the I-95 corridor as we head towards Sunday morning. But a lot of that main energy begins to push offshore by that time. So fingers crossed right now, Sunday is going to be looking a little bit better and finishing off with a big cool down. Everybody get ready for much colder temperatures behind this storm as well. So here you can look at how much rainfall we're expecting with all of this, anywhere between 1 and 3 inches. So there will be some locally heavy flash flooding. Now stay with the Weather Channel all evening and download our app on your TV. Existing cable and satellite subscribers can get the Weather Channel on Roku, Fire Stick, and on your smart TV for 24/7 access.
You're watching Storm Center, and we're watching what Charles Peak is watching here in Mississippi. Currently in Minter City, Mississippi. I see some dark skies off to the right. My guess is that Charles pulled over to safely diagnose the atmosphere, find the route that he wants to take. This is all guessing, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a text from Charles if I'm correct here in just a second. But again, Charles Peak is out here in Mississippi. He is currently tracking the storms from, of course, the ground, getting some ground truth to what is happening. I just got a text from Charles, and this is exactly what he said, trying to decide if he's going to head west towards a storm and head back to the northeast for a different environment. So it looks like he has made his choice, looking for some better terrain. You know, it's always a give and take, right? Between what are you going to do? Do you have better terrain, better visibility to see the storms, or do you have a better chance of seeing storms, what might not be the best visibility? So a tough call. I think we'll be chatting with Charles coming up a little bit later, but until then, I can see his camera right here, and we'll continue to monitor it for you as we monitor other cameras around the south, tracking and watching for the weather to change. In some cases for the worse, some cases for the better. Right now, this severe thunderstorm still has some life to it. The severe thunderstorm warning currently in effect. I'll get to that in just a second, but I want to give you an idea of what's going on. This is happening in an environment that is conducive for severe weather. Tornado watch means conditions are favorable for tornadoes. And as we look at some of the ingredients here, you can see showers and thunderstorms developing in an area which appears and feels more like springtime. The lack of leaves on the trees tells you that, you know, not so much. But 80 degrees in Jackson, 82 in Greenville, Mississippi, upper 70s in Montgomery, Birmingham, Atlanta 73. And that helps destabilize the atmosphere when it's really warm down here and really cold up above, higher up in the atmosphere. But then you have the moisture, which is like the fuel for these storms, and you get up to around 55 to 60 degree dew points. The temperature at which the air has to cool for dew to form gives you an idea. Gives you an idea that we're dealing with a very warm and moist atmosphere conducive for thunderstorms and severe weather. And Jackie, that's what we're seeing here going into Mississippi now. Bolivar and Sunflower counties, Cleveland, Rosedale, and Shelby. Heads up, could see a pretty potent storm heading your way. So this threat also, Jackie, continues, which I really, I think all of us can say we don't like the fact that we get storms, but especially overnight when people are trying to sleep.
Right, more dangerous, right?
Yep.
Tornadoes are more deadly in the overnight hours because people are sleeping. It's harder for them to kind of wake up and be aware of their surroundings and what's going on. So make sure that you do have more than one, if you can, way to wake you up tonight if you're in this risk zone. Because as we look at our latest computer modeling, our future radar, indicating the storms are going to be going all night long and into early tomorrow morning. And there you can see the timing of all of this. The good news is places like Memphis now already dropped out of the tornado watch, so your conditions are going to be improving, but still it doesn't move a whole heck of a lot in the next couple of hours. We're still talking Tupelo up towards Nashville, then heading towards Huntsville and Birmingham, 9-10 o'clock tonight, working into northwestern parts of Georgia, into eastern Tennessee, and you can see some individual storms, those supercells, the ones that we really worry about, but also some bowing segments and some clustering of thunderstorms that could bring damaging winds, but also some really heavy rain. And look at the spotty showers and thunderstorms still continuing all across the deep south here through 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Look at this, south of Atlanta, right along the I-20 corridor and southward. Could be really dicey for that morning commute if you are working for tomorrow. Let's time it out here for Tupelo. We do have some spotty showers and thunderstorms in the vicinity. This will continue through 6, 7, 8 o'clock for tonight, and then we start to settle things down and we'll look for improvements, because one of the big things we want folks to keep in mind is even when your severe weather threat ends later on tonight in some of these areas, we're going to reload the atmosphere day after day after day. So this is going to be a long go into your new year.
And I think you're really not going to know the threat's over until you walk outside and feel winter again.
You'll feel it because it's coming.
It is coming. It's coming.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not going to come tomorrow. It's not coming the day after tomorrow, the day after that. Going to have to wait till the second half of the weekend or early next week to get this severe weather threat finally out of here. But right now, what we're dealing with is the possibility for more strong storms. And again, this is that severe thunderstorm warning now going into Mississippi. This strong storm has been holding together for quite some time. Now that it's heading into Mississippi, we're going to add another state here into the severe weather mix. And the line of storms going all the way up into Tennessee. Still rain in Memphis. Most of the lightning is now off to the east of you, but you can still get lightning even after the rain stops. So let's remember that as well. Again, another look at that severe thunderstorm warning that's currently in effect, been holding together for quite some time, and we'll continue to watch this, and we'll watch south of it as well to see if we get more development. We're starting to see a little bit more action. The storm's getting a little bit more robust on the southern end of this, but tracking this all the way up to the north, and more rain, possibly some storms heading into Paducah as well. Stay with us on the Weather Channel as we track what's going on the radar and live on the ground.
As a
This is Storm Center. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren, along with meteorologist Jackie Jarris, tracking severe weather from Arkansas to Atlanta and areas in between and around, including Memphis, Tennessee, where you've had some storms roll through. Wet roads at the moment. There is a severe thunderstorm warning, Bolivar and Sunflower counties. This part of the storm, or this part of the section of the whole mess, there has been some very large hail, likely associated with this one right here about an hour ago, some golf ball size hail near Monticello here on 425, breaking a windshield on a vehicle. Again, that was a little bit earlier. And just these very bright, you see the purple on this right there? that shows you where you likely have some very large hail, damaging winds, and the threat for tornadoes, along with frequent lightning and along with flash flooding, all possible as we track the severe weather threat across the southeast. Several states across the southeast in line for some very strong storms for the rest of today, tonight, overnight, tomorrow into the morning, and then really not getting a break in a lot of areas. Chance for tornadoes. Tornado watch in effect until 7 o'clock. This is for parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, a lot of central and northern Mississippi, and portions of Tennessee. This goes right along with where this line of storms is, right here. Another look at that severe thunderstorm warning right now as we get right down here. See a lot of the farmland, Benoit up to Rosedale. I think you're on either end of it. Now, even though you're not seeing some of the worst of the hail right now, right in there, right before it gets back into the warning. So this is looped so we can see what was going on before, get the trend of what the storm has been doing. Looks like it's getting a little bit weaker. I wouldn't say we're completely done yet, but let's remember, if we're dealing with golf ball size hail like we heard about a little bit earlier, then you can get some of that hail bouncing out of the center of the storm, getting thrown out of it. So just get an idea here of who's at risk within this area and beyond as well. So Memphis, while the roads are still quite wet at the moment, as we can see right here, the worst of the weather, at least for now, appears to be beyond you. We are seeing right now also a flash flood warning for Haywood County and plenty of lightning as well just to the east of there. So we want to take a look now. I think I'm getting word. Did you say warning, Adam, or what? New watch. New watch is what you said. Okay. So new tornado watch. This is what Jack and I are saying we were expecting here from the Storm Prediction Center, and this is what we have. The watch now, this watch here is until 7 p.m. This one now till 10 o'clock. This now includes more of Tennessee, south central Tennessee, pretty much the entire stretch of the Tennessee border with Alabama. North of Birmingham, there's still a chance you could see tornadoes in Birmingham, but the greater threat is to the north. That's also where the Torcon is of a 5. And going into parts of Georgia and getting close to Chattanooga as well, and getting right close to that 75 corridor there. Still some showers and storms, some severe weather possible here across parts of Florida and southwest Georgia. Again, a big area right now with the potential for a lot of nasty weather. And this is the future radar showing that, Jackie, it's going to be continuing well into the overnight hours. And we got a lot to track for severe weather this week and going right into the weekend as well.
Yeah, so we want to just start really giving people a big heads up about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because our big storm that's already working its way into the west is going to start to track eastward, and this is going to bring a lot of snow to some parts of the plains and more severe weather across parts of the southeast. So this, first of all, I want to show you is a Euro model, and it kind of shows you the storm as it goes coast to coast. This is going to be pivoting out of the southwest. Here you can see the area of low pressure upslope into the Colorado Rockies, so they could get some big snow numbers. Snow then pushes across parts of the plains, severe into the southeast, and then works its way up into the northeastern parts of the country, starting out with rain on I-95 and then finishing off with snow as we head into your Sunday. Now, this is the GFS model depicting that low in a similar location, but going a little bit slower and kind of lingering across the southwest, and then ejecting out of Oklahoma, moving up towards the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast with a little bit more of an inside slider. So there are some discrepancies between the two models, but our confidence is high that this is going to be a potent storm bringing heavy snow, the Wasatch and the Rockies in particular. Some big numbers here. This is great news for Colorado, but still some question marks in the plains. We've kind of blended our models together to give you a better idea of the forecast. I think the 8 to 12 is going to be few and far between, but I do like this zone as a sweet spot. Southern Iowa, northern parts of Missouri for some of the heaviest accumulations. Places like Kansas City and Chicago could end up with some big numbers potentially out of this, but know that this snowfall forecast will fluctuate a little bit in the days to come. Be prepared and stay with the Weather Channel all evening. Download our app on your TV. Existing cable and satellite subscribers can get Weather Channel on Roku and Fire Stick in your smart TV.
This holiday, Verizon has the deal that gets better and better.
Right now on Storm Center, we're tracking dangerous storms that are firing up in the southeast. From Louisiana to the Carolinas, strong storms and tornadoes are possible. We have a torcon of 5 for parts of northern Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and northwest Georgia. I'm meteorologist Jackie Jarris, along with meteorologist Chris Warren. He's on the radar tonight, so let's get straight to Chris for the very latest on where the storms are popping up right now. Hey, Chris.
Hello to you, Jackie. I'm liking what I'm seeing right now on the radar and the fact that we're not seeing as much as we were a little bit earlier. However, what I don't like is that we're expecting a lot more. Here's what's going on right now. Still a severe thunderstorm warning. This appears to be breaking up a little bit. It's not completely done yet, so there is still the chance for 60-mile-an-hour winds and some large hail associated with this storm right here. Severe thunderstorm warning, Bolivar and Sunflower counties. You can see this is getting closer to Cleveland right here. This is in Mississippi, and showing you now the broad view, and this across much of the southeast, this whole area in here, more storms are expected throughout the course of this evening and into the nighttime overnight hours. This is the severe thunderstorm threat area where there's also going to be part of what makes them severe is the tornadoes. Tornado watch in effect here from the Storm Prediction Center. This stretch right here in effect until 7 o'clock, and then the area over here into Alabama and Tennessee and even into Georgia is in effect until 10 o'clock this evening. And then there's a threat for storms even overnight. Here's that severe thunderstorm warning again north of Greenville, Mississippi. A closer look at this shows you some of the terrain it's heading over right now, going over Highway 8. It looks like it's going to be going right near Cleveland or just about to that area. A lot of lightning associated with this, now moving away from Memphis. And up here, flash flood warning remains in effect, including Brownsville. Reports of some flooding in that area. The rain has since let up quite a bit. Not necessarily the story here outside of Nashville. You can see some storms heading your way. Nothing severe at the moment, but what we do see is a lot of very heavy rain and a lot of lightning associated with that. Severe weather also possible down here ahead of the main line, and we see showers and even some thunderstorms here north of Panama City going over Interstate 10 for a pretty sloppy drive. Moving now just east of Columbus, Georgia, a thunderstorm with quite a bit of lightning associated with it. Okay, so give you a quick idea of how this is going to play out. Just showing you this very quickly to give you an idea that this is going to be lasting a long time. The threats continuing and possibly returning for some areas during the overnight hours here. A closer look at the forecast. Here's Huntsville, torcon of 5, 4 and a 3 north of Chattanooga. The timing for this also showing that we're going to see these storms going after dark through Huntsville between 7 and 8 o'clock. Here's Chattanooga now around 8 o'clock. It moves through and continues off into parts of eastern Alabama and then parts of Georgia as well. Here's the forecast now for Birmingham, torcon of 3 and of 4. The forecast again shows here's 4 o'clock this evening. Now we're going to get to after sunset. Here comes the storms. Could be kind of a 1-2 punch coming out of the southwest and then coming from the east. More storms possible. Now here's 2, 3 o'clock. And unfortunately, it does appear this could be a multiple round of heavy rain and thunderstorms, which means flash flooding is certainly going to be a possibility in some of these areas. Again, tornado threat also for the Atlanta metro area, especially north and northwest, with storms coming through and lasting during a lot of the overnight hours. In fact, even some of the rain may be picking up if this high-resolution future radar, this computer model, is correct. We could have an ongoing flood issue with a highly populated, highly urbanized area like Atlanta first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and we could see that a couple of days in a row, potentially, depending where these storms track. And let this serve as a reminder for you that we've already had flash flooding. Look at this. This is northern Mississippi, where multiple emergency rescues took place this morning. This was in Calhoun County. County, where the sheriff's office used a Humvee to get through the high water to rescue 3 adults and a baby that were trapped by the rising water. More than 20 others had to evacuate their homes. So you don't want to be one of those people that gets stuck. If you live in a flood-prone area, you really need to stay alert the next couple of days. Now let's talk about the setup for the severe weather that's coming up here yet tonight and into the overnight hours. We've got a potent area of low pressure and so much warmth and humidity here across the south and east. Had a lot of record highs already broken today. A lot of them have been in the 70s, even into the 80s across some parts of Texas. Our dew points in the 60s and even in the 70s. This is more of a typical air mass that we would expect in the springtime months as opposed to the end of December. Now, on top of all these ingredients, we also have favorable winds that are going to be aiding the organization of thunderstorms and clusters and bowing segments of thunderstorms, but also our winds that are going to be turning with height aloft, providing wind shear, allowing supercells to develop that may rotate with time. So we'll time this out for you here hour by hour, showing you the big picture, how storms developing over towards parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, and then propagating and working their way off towards the east. New storms could be pushing on through, and look at how this continues along the I-20 corridor, for example, through 9, 10 o'clock for tonight. Birmingham likely to see scattered showers and thunderstorms in rounds continuing through the early overnight. In Atlanta, I think your window of opportunity really gets going around 10, 11 o'clock, and that will continue through the early overnight as these storms then work their way into parts of the Carolinas, and still spotty showers and thunderstorms here early tomorrow. So that's that morning rush that Chris was talking about that will likely be a problem. So it's a broad area where severe storms will be possible. That's going to stretch from eastern Texas all the way up towards Raleigh, but we think the sweet spot is actually really where we have most of the watches posted right now, and that's northern parts of Alabama, northwestern Georgia, southern parts of Tennessee, and northern parts of Mississippi. It's that dark red area where we think tornadoes are going to be more likely. The farther south you go, less supportive for tornadoes. Still a possibility, but more likely to see some damaging winds out of all this. Now, as severe weather threatens cities along the southeast for tonight, it's really important to remember that tornadoes that strike at night are more than twice as likely to kill. Meteorologist Mike Bettis explains the danger.
Tornadoes are terrifying, even in broad daylight, but they can also strike in the middle of the night, when you're most vulnerable, unaware of the danger tracking towards your home. Here are 3 things to know about nighttime tornadoes. Number 1, nighttime tornadoes are twice as deadly. Only about 27% of tornadoes occur at night, but make up an incredible 39% of total deaths. This, according to a 2008 study from Northern Illinois University. 42% of killer tornadoes are nocturnal, with the highest fatality rates in spring and winter transition seasons. Number 2, night tornadoes are more difficult to confirm. It may seem obvious, but getting a visual confirmation on a tornado at night poses a challenge for meteorologists. Unless a tornado is accompanied by frequent lightning, it may not be spotted by someone on the ground. We have to rely largely on radar to assist in these circumstances. Number 3, nighttime tornadoes are more common in the south. It's important to point out that a nighttime tornado can happen anywhere, but the most common occurrences are in southern states. The top 3, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Remaining vigilant overnight is the best way to stay safe. You can't rely on a tornado siren to jar you from your sleep. Tools like NOAA weather radios, wireless emergency alerts, or push notifications from weather apps can keep you safe. Always have a plan and be ready when severe weather threatens your area.
And severe weather will be threatening your area again tomorrow across parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Torcon of 2. It's not as high as it is today, but there is still the threat of tornadoes tomorrow and potentially damaging winds. Also, some very heavy rain. This is the forecast tomorrow morning. Now it's into the afternoon. Here's 2, here's 3, and you can see that some of that heavy rain could be in the form of some strong storms, as indicated by that almost burgundy, a very dark purple color there, and shows some of the more intense storms across parts of Georgia and the Carolinas. Here's now the setup for Friday. And this is showing more moisture moving up to the north. It's already in place here, and it's just continuing to be pumped up. We can see storms firing along the warm front out within the warm sector of this next developing system. This is, again, on Friday. And you can see some of these low-level winds bringing up more of that moisture and get some of the turning as well, which means if you get some of the wind shear in here, we could be looking at some more severe weather. And that does appear to be the situation. They're going to see the low-level winds actually increasing during the overnight hours Friday night, so New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. Another severe weather situation going on here, and then this continues right into the weekend. Here are those winds, again, going at different directions, so all types of severe weather will be possible. Here's Friday at 10 o'clock, and we can see that showers and storms continue to go across the south, now up into the Ohio Valley as well, the mid-Mississippi River Valley, parts of the plains, while at the same time, there's snow happening, which we'll get to a little bit later. The snow threat with the next system as well. Here's again Friday evening during the overnight hours, and at this point, this is still subject to change, still, few days away. Today's Wednesday. Severe weather threat at this point appears to be from the Red River Valley here all the way over to parts of the Carolinas and parts of the Ohio Valley as well. Again, that is going from Friday evening into the overnight hours. There's also, again, the threat for severe weather, and it looks like a pretty big threat this weekend as well. So for that, let's head over to meteorologist Jackie Jarrett, who's taking a closer look at that.
Yeah, that's New Year's Eve into New Year's Day when people are out there partying. So you don't want to be in a situation where you get yourself in trouble because you're not alert, you're not awake, you're not paying attention to what's going on, or maybe you're a little bit impaired. So this is maybe not the New Year's to go ahead and do that for you. There you can see the risk area on your Saturday for New Year's Day, where severe thunderstorms are in the forecast for a broad area from Arkansas into parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, parts of Carolinas once again. So these are some of the same areas that are getting hit right now. It's kind of a similar looking map, isn't it? So we are talking about Saturday, though, as we fast forward into what we can expect as we head into the weekend. And our warm sector, where we have all of the heat and where we have all of that moisture, is becoming even broader as we head into your Saturday. So plenty of energy is going to be available for thunderstorms to develop and to continue to grow. Dew points are going to continue to stay high in the 60s, even 70s in some situations, and that makes the air more buoyant as well, so we get more lift, which aids in thunderstorm development as well. And look at our strong low-level winds. We're going to have a strong low-level jet that's going to develop. In addition to that, our winds are going to be turning with height, but Saturday is a little bit of a different animal compared to what we're planning and expecting for tonight and the next couple of days, is that we've got a much stronger kink into our jet stream, and our upper level wind support is even stronger. So this is a very potent, powerful jet, and you can really just see that dip here in the jet stream. So that looks like it's going to be a little bit more of a significant severe weather day, perhaps the granddaddy of the 4-day streak that we're talking about here. So timing it out for you, storms are going to be ongoing early into the morning hours and continuing as they track from west towards the east into the afternoon. So this is midday, the lunch hour or so on Saturday. Places like the Boot Heel in Missouri, up towards Louisville, Nashville, down towards Huntsville, again, Birmingham, Jackson, New Orleans, all in that zone for showers and thunderstorms. Pushing eastward with time into the evening hours, Atlanta on up towards Greenville, Richmond and Raleigh overnight Saturday and into your Sunday morning. And I think by Sunday, a lot of the biggest part of that energy starts to push offshore. So we're going to be in better shape for the severe weather risk, but still watching the Eastern Carolinas, I think, into Sunday at least before we clear all of this out of here and really begin to cool down, by the way. A big heads up that we've got a big dramatic drop in our temperature once this all moves on through. But with rounds of rain Friday through Sunday, some severe with the heavy downpours and those heavy rainfall rates, means flash flooding is going to be a good possibility. 1 to 2 inches, even some 3-inch numbers. We'll have to watch the Ohio Valley. We'll have to watch the Tennessee Valley for these risks. So that's going to be something else that you really need to keep your eye out for. Atlanta, you hit the record high today into the lower 70s. We're going to be staying in the 70s for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Finally kind of quieting things down, but there you can see those temperatures beginning to take a tumble on Sunday. But I think Monday is going to be the day when people feel that a little bit more, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very noticeable for a lot of people. Unfortunately, right now, you're going to really notice some of the storms that will be heading your way. We're looking on the radar right now at thunderstorms that eventually will be working from Arkansas to Atlanta and areas in between, including right here in Mississippi, where storm tracker Charles Peak currently is traveling at the moment. We can see some heavy rain right along the Arkansas and Louisiana border, all the way up now to just outside of Nashville. And within this line, this area is where there is a tornado watch. Conditions remain favorable for the development of tornadoes here and over here until 10 o'clock. This includes south central Tennessee into northern Alabama and parts of Georgia as well. But again, right now there is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is just north of Greenville, Mississippi, and a closer look shows you that this storm right now, as it comes into frame here, it's still holding together. I was hoping that it would start to break apart a little bit, as it appears to kind of be getting a little bit of a split look to it, but it is still holding together pretty good. Still a decent amount of lightning, 60-mile-an-hour winds possible with that. Also, we see that there is a big line of storms continuing, and this is still, at any point, there could be a warning on any of these storms or perhaps something out ahead of them as well. Don't forget, as Jackie just mentioned, there is that threat for flash flooding as well, including here in Haywood County. So heads up, it's going to be a big afternoon and a long night of severe weather.
Climate change is uncovering ground that has never been seen before.
Probably the largest untapped gold reserve in the entire world.
The awesome thing about Greenland is gold can be anywhere.
We all gave up so much to come here.
This is more dangerous than I thought it would be.
We got trouble.
We're running out of time, man.
I don't believe you have what it takes to even be out here.
If gold was easy to find, everybody would do it.
Get the gold, dude.
Right now, tracking the threat for severe weather on Storm Center as we're watching storm tracker Charles Peak on the road in some rain near Grenada, Mississippi. And he is heading toward a storm that doesn't have quite a warning on it yet, but trying to see how things are shaking out. Still very early in the severe weather day / evening / night / overnight and early morning. As on the radar right now, we're seeing a few areas that have the potential for being severe. We do have one area that is severe right now, still has a severe thunderstorm warning, and anywhere out ahead of this line and within it as well. Watching this cell here in just outside of Columbus, Georgia, for the potential of severe weather as well. So the tornado threat is also with us here across a lot of the south, parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee. These areas here do have a tornado watch. Conditions remain favorable for the development of a tornado. Similar story here. This now till 10 o'clock. This is the latest watch issued from the Storm Prediction Center. This includes also parts of Georgia and parts of south central Tennessee. This is the severe thunderstorm warning. Remember, warning means that type of weather is about to happen. So large hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, a possibility here with this severe thunderstorm warning. Also, in Memphis, we're seeing a little bit of a break, but there's still some heavy rain with some thunderstorms. It's where Oxford, Mississippi, all the way up to outside of Tennessee, where we're seeing some of the stronger storms at the moment associated with this line. But again, any storm out ahead, not that one, but this one right here going over Interstate 55 and these two over here, worth watching as we're still expecting things at some point, Jackie, I think, really going to get an uptick.
All right, we want to take you out west now because this is where our storms are coming from, right? They all start out in the west, they work their way across the country and into the nation's midsection. It is snowing still in the Sierra Nevada. Check it out. The massive amounts of snow have been burying towns like Truckee that you can see here. It almost looks like, you know, a movie where they got snowed in and got stuck for days. That actually literally happened to some people. Interstate 80 was shut down for 3 days. It's back open, but still big time restrictions, including chain rules, and they're asking everybody to stay home unless you're absolutely essential because road conditions are still not good, right? As that snow continues to come down and we're waiting for the next big push to come on in. I want to take you live right now to Reno, Nevada, where it is snowing there as well, though not at quite the same hefty rate. Your temperature has actually gone up a couple of degrees, but if you look closely, it is still snow that's actually coming down. Remember, it doesn't have to be 32 degrees or colder to get snow. It just has to be cold aloft and then not warm enough at the surface that it would actually melt before it ever hit the ground. So this is our next winter storm that we're going to be dealing with here, and it's working its way across the west, and it's kind of complicated, but we'll break it down for you and talk about the impacts as this works its way across the country. So we have low pressure off the coast right now. In addition, another low up towards the north, and these two things are going to work together to bring in more moisture across the region. A little concerned about the risk for flash flooding in Southern California, maybe around just south of LA down towards San Diego, where a bit of an atmospheric river is setting up with all of this. This moisture is going to linger through the weekend as those lows kind of pivot around the southwest and then begin to work their way here into parts of the Rockies. And that's where you could really get slammed with some big snowfall totals as this all kind of merges into one big system and becomes a stronger storm altogether. So as we head into the weekend, then that low pulls lee of the Rockies, kind of dips down towards the panhandles of Oklahoma and into Texas. Out ahead of it, we're still going to have a big warm sector, but back behind it, that cold air is getting pulled much farther to the south, and we could see some really big snows across parts of the plains potentially. The model's still showing some discrepancies between where exactly the heaviest of snow is going to be. I do think that there's going to be some overrunning where some icy conditions could create some freezing rain across parts of Missouri and probably into central parts of Illinois, but at least the potential is there for places like Kansas City on up towards Chicago for some very decent measurable snow. We'll call it a handful of inches plus, Chris. This is something we got to watch through the rest of the week, plus the severe with it.
A handful of inches, something you got to shovel. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I want to show you a couple of computer models. And Jackie mentioned it. Yeah, it's going to be coming with a severe weather threat. So we're going to pick it up here, show you a couple of models here. Here's 2 o'clock Friday. Here's this developing low. Where you see green, think thunderstorms. And, of course, blue is the snow. This is one potential the way things may be working out. And it includes the chance for parts of the Northeast to see some snow. Here's the GFS model, also showing somewhat of a similar situation. Again, going into Saturday, the threat for some severe weather, while at the same time there is snow and possibly even some wind associated with it as well. So still a lot to track, including that severe weather threat today.